These talks will also be recorded. So when we send out the email to the college, we'll send the UPR, they're not called UPR, what do they call it?
URL.
No, the little
QR
squares.
code.
QR codes, thank you. I am not cool enough. So we'll send out the QR codes. We'll also have the link, these will be sitting on YouTube, so you can re-watch them, or if people weren't able to be here, they'll be able to watch both. We really want you to watch both and fill out the surveys. So without further ado, Dr. Lynn Thomas has her tenure home here. You could consider her an external candidate, I guess. And we're just so honored that she was willing to step forward and be willing to be considered, along with Dr. Jennifer Harrison. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to her for her talk, the same format. So we gave them 5 areas to cover, so she'll cover the same 5 areas. Then 30 minutes for their conversation, and then 30 minutes for your Q&A. Without further ado.
So good afternoon. I don't hear feedback.
It's not working.
Is it great?
Not working.
It's not working?
No.
They told me, so that means I have to work on my projection. Okay, that's fine. And I like smiles, so thank you for those of you who are smiling on this Friday afternoon and taking the time to be here, because it's such a beautiful day outside, and you chose to spend time with me here, and so I am grateful for the opportunity. I think it is working. And I'm also grateful for the individual who nominated me for consideration. So I'm pleased. I wanted to start off by acknowledging, because I heard there were going to be students, faculty, staff, and members from the community here. So do we have representation from each of those groups? Any students? No students, community? Okay, so our major stakeholders are the faculty and staff. Okay, well, I'm glad that you're here. Before I get started, I would like to read our land acknowledgement statement. I'm gonna read this. So Western Michigan University is located on lands historically occupied by the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations. Please take a moment to acknowledge and honor this ancestral land of the Three Fires Confederacy, the sacred lands of all indigenous peoples and their continued presence. And I have a personal value for honoring those who came before me that made it possible for me to be here. So thank you for that moment. Okay, so this is what I'm going to cover. It's kind of small looking for me. So I'm going to provide some background information about myself, because some of you here may know me, some of you don't, but I'm hoping that the people who are here will hear things about me. Those who know me may hear things they haven't heard yet about me. And then I'm going to cover the 5 areas that the provost asked me to address. And then after that, there will be an opportunity for some questions and some answers from this group. And maybe conversation. We'll see how it goes. Okay. So I'm going to start with talking about my upbringing background, just real briefly. I am a native of Michigan, Michigander. I was born in Grand Rapids, north of here, about 45 miles if you don't know Grand Rapids. Who doesn't know Grand Rapids? And then my parents moved here right before I started school. My father moved here for employment. And I attended my entire education in the Kalamazoo public schools system. So K through 12, I graduated from Kalamazoo Central High School. So I'm a proud giant, as well as a proud Bronco. And then I wanted to share just briefly because I was talking about this earlier, about my background. My parents met in in college. I'm a first-generation college graduate, but not a first-year college attending. And my father is from a rural community and my mother's from an urban environment. So I had the opportunity to to navigate both the farm and the life and the city life during my upbringing. In terms of my educational attainment, I'm gonna start at the bottom and work my way up. I started out here at the university as a student athlete, and then I got injured, I stopped out, I was an engineer major, I found myself working at community college, and then I found my way to transferring to a HBCU in New Orleans, Dillard University. And was one of the best decisions that I could have made in my life. So I graduated, I got there and realized I can study. I can be a good student and I love learning. And so I ended up at Dillard University, graduating with a bachelor's degree in psychology with honors. Then I went on to earn my master's degree at the University of Northern Iowa, and then continued on to earn a PhD in clinical psychology at Southern Illinois University. And I'm a fully licensed psychologist in the state of Michigan, so I had to go through all those processes. Those who some of you know about that. Oh, I have to note that the study abroad experience was very enriching for me as an undergrad, study abroad in France. So I really value our study abroad programs here at the university. Okay, this slide I present because I think it gives the college and the faculty and staff a broader understanding of who is Evelyn Winfield Thomas. I've been exposed to lots of different environments prior to coming to the university. And lots of systems, and as you can see, there are many environments, hospitals, and then serving. Look at the urban or the rural. Those are the populations that I was exposed to and provided services for. So residential treatment, homeless youth and young families challenged by homelessness, community-based mental health, providing services there. I also completed my pre-doc internship at Henry Ford Health System, so you'll know that's a large medical system here in the state of Michigan, mostly over by Detroit. So I did my internship there, and then I ventured to the U of M, did a postdoc there. That was in a mental health counseling center setting. And then before coming to the university, I did a stop back in Grand Rapids, so I came full circle. So I started off, and I went around all back to where I was born, Grand Rapids, and then this opportunity to come to Western presented. And one unique thing about the college works with lots of different agencies and populations. The agency in Grand Rapids, Rosehaven Ministry, that was working with women who were transitioning from a life of prostitution. So that, you're talking about trauma and substance use and homelessness. So we had, I oversaw the outreach program as well as the residential program. So I did that. And then I came to Western. I had established a small private practice, but of course, when you're working in administration, you don't have time for private practice. But I say this to say I have a lot of understanding of complex systems, different types of systems, nonprofit, hospital, mental health, and now I'm at Western Michigan University. So 24 years ago, it'll be 24 years in September, I came to the university as a tenure track faculty member in what used to be the University Counseling Testing Center. And you all know those folks because a lot of them came over and we did the restructuring and now we have counseling services. A lot of them came over the holistic health program and some of the CCP. So those are my colleagues at one time before I came over to institutional equity. But what I will say about, I was in student affairs, and in that capacity or in that environment, I was a staff psychologist, so we provide mental health services for students, and then mental health consultation to the entire university. And then after 1 year post-tenure, I got tenure in that department. 1 year, we were part of what they call the unaffiliated colleges. Some people call it the non-teaching faculty unit, even though we taught some classes. We even had our own course, the career guidance inventory, that we taught. So we did mental health counseling and provided career services. So 1 year post tenure, I became the chair of the faculty and the director of the center. So I come with that shared governance background, working with collective bargaining, faculty senate, and those areas. And then I was presented with an opportunity to join institutional equity about 13 years in June. It's June 2nd. So 13 years I came to institutional equity, and 2.5 years later, my predecessor retired, and then I became the executive director. And I've been in that role for 10 years as of January. So just to give you an idea of some of my professional background and how I got from the start to where we stand here today. Oh, one thing I want to say about this institutional equity, it's not a cabinet position. My position is not a cabinet position, but the office reports to the president of the university for very intentional reasons, because we have to access the entire university for compliance reasons and for responding to civil rights complaints of harassment, discrimination, helping with ADA accommodations, and so on. Many of you probably know about institutional equity and the services that we provide. Okay. And I present this because I'm talking to faculty, and I have a faculty background, or I am a faculty member with that. I'm on leave from the PA department to serve the university as an administrator. And I'm thankful to the PA department for accepting that transfer when I came over to institutional equity. So I have continued to engage and have my own research interests and engage in scholarship. And so I've published, these are some of the more recent publications that I have with colleagues from different disciplines. So my work is largely interdisciplinary. Psychologists, educators, public health professionals, communication scholars. And so I wanted to just show you that I have continued to engage in that work as well. Okay, institutional knowledge and engagement. I said a little bit about that, but I wanted to share that in my role as head of institutional equity and in my department's structural position with the university, we interface with many departments. Actually, we are situated to access and interface with all, but these are some of the ones that we have important engagement with to help resolve matters of compliance, to resolve matters of employee relations, and it expands the gamut. Even though we are targeting and there to promote equity and compliance in regards to civil rights, we also receive complaints that are not protected class related, just because people see us as the office to respond to complaints regarding fairness and equity. And so we have the opportunity to engage with our colleagues and help them navigate and explore how do you best address and get these issues resolved. Even though it's not a matter for us to investigate, we serve as a resource in consultation with all of these departments in these areas for various reasons. And so it's a wonderful opportunity to get to know the campus and to serve the university at all levels. So I have this macro view of the institution, macro perspective, and the micro perspective. So the system, and then the wonderful individuals that we get to work with in the various constituents groups and employee groups. So I wanted to share that with you. Okay, now we're getting to the topic at hand, my charge in terms of giving this talk. So the provost asked me to address 5 key areas and provide my ideas, insights, and strategies related to each. I wanted to, as context, because this is the College of Health and Human Services, the College of Health and Human Services, the only one at this university, and you all have a mission and you have a vision. And so this is the context for, this is, the mission is, this is what we say we do, okay? And then our vision is our aspirational, our aim or target. This is where we wanna be. This is how we wanna be known. And so I wanted to share that. I don't know how often you look at your mission and vision, but you use that to determine your priorities, your goals, your objectives. What are we pursuing? What are we trying to accomplish? We're selling this to students. So this is it's our recruiting message to the community and to locally, globally. Health and Human Services says this is what we do. We educate professionals to provide exemplary health care, rehabilitation, and social services to provide innovation and discovery, and to build mutually enriching local and global partnerships. And I love it because it's about helping people, serving communities, and helping our students get ready to go and serve the well-being of the community. And then the mission is just like, we want to be a leader. We want to be a part of the transformation associated with health and human services, or health sciences and health services to the community. And we have a standard of excellence for our students, and we want them to thrive and go on to provide quality services, ready to provide quality services in the community. Okay. When people are interviewing for positions, particular leadership roles, people want to know, well, what's the person's style? How are they going to work with us? Well, what do they do? What does it look like? What is it like to engage that individual? And so I had to, in the process of getting prepared for this, I live with me every day. So one of the things a leader has to understand who they are. And I will say over time, I have come to know myself more and more through engagement with people in this room, engaging all the populations that I indicated that I interface with. I had to get to know who is Evelyn Winfield Thomas as a person in a leadership role, and who is she as a supervisor, and who is she as a mentor, who is she in relationship to other people. And so these are some of the qualities that I have found. I said, okay, I have to stand here. I stood back and I looked across the room at Evelyn and I said, what is she doing? Who is she? How does she engage? How does she work? How does she lead? How does she support? And so some of the things that stood out to me, because I live with me and I work with people and I get feedback. The environment will give you feedback about yourself. They'll tell you, oh, you're doing really good at that. Or they'll say, I don't like that. And so what you do is you take that and you learn how to make modifications if you're going to be in a leadership capacity. But much of this is really natural for me, okay? And so I love this part of me because the fact that I'm a lifelong learner and I love higher education and I've chosen to work in this environment. I'm a high achiever because most people here are. We've done a lot to get here, all the steps and the challenges and the opportunities that we continue to pursue and what we continue to accomplish. Being a high achiever, I had to learn to embrace that because it's like, that's not boastful. I'm not bragging. My record shows that I've achieved a lot. And so your records, if I look at yours, it's going to be the same thing. High achiever, high achiever, high achiever, high achiever. Okay? This is higher education. We cultivate high achievers. And I spend a lot of time in higher ed. So I'm future oriented. I love to think about the possibilities, what might be. Collaborative and inclusive is so critical when you're working with people in complex systems. I told you I was exposed to multidisciplinary teams in all those systems as I have developed and gained experiences. I also, I'm a softball player, former, or retired, but you have to be a team player. And so the value of being collaborative and inclusive is that you get an opportunity to leverage your talents in collaboration with other people's talents. And I have talents that you don't have, and you have talents that I don't have. And I love and value and appreciate when people they know more than I do. They're smarter than me. They have contributions to make to the mission of the college, working toward that aspirational goal.
and everyone has a unique contribution to make to that. And so upholding that and valuing and that is really, really important. And so that's why collaboration, being collaborative and inclusive works. It works. When you're not, I can't figure out all this. You know, I don't have all the answers in my head. I have answers to solutions. I have answers to problems, and can recommend some solutions. But if I hear from everybody, I'm like, yeah. When I was practicing and going through graduate school, I loved couples work, and I loved family systems. I loved working with families because why? Everybody's in the table. If it's a partner relationship issue, I got both of y'all. Come on, let me hear both sides. If this is a family, I get to see, who's the identified patient. I get to see who is the problem here really, or what role is everybody contributing to the challenge. And then, okay, so now what are we going to do to contribute to the solution and to the growth and to the advancement and moving us beyond? We're here, we want to get there. So how do we do that? Listening, let me say a little bit about the analytical piece. I was talking to the provost and it's like, well, leaders have to be able to make decisions on a dime. So I work in institutional equity and I think that's great, but I love that I'm musing and pensive and I like to, I'm analytical, so I like to think about things. And sometime in my office, because I learned this years ago during counseling and testing, is that psychological testing, we are making decisions that impact people's lives. And so we need to be mindful and thoughtful about what we are using to make those choices. And so in institutional equity, it's the same way. Sometimes it may take us a little longer to do something because we are making very important decisions and recommendations that impact people's lives. And so we sometimes put a pause on it. We don't know the answer. Okay, if it's an emergency, if it's something that has to take place now, because that's what we use. If it's like you're telling me it's urgent, okay, so if you got to go to the emergency, because they are the emergency people, or call the police. But if it's something that can wait until tomorrow, so that I can just have a couple more minutes to think about this, I think it's valuable in doing that. But if it is something that we have to make a decision about now, we make that decision and be able to explain why we did it. Okay. So the value of pushing the pause button, we'll say we have to pause, push the pause button. It has served me well. And then listening. A lot of leaders get criticized, they don't listen. They don't listen with the third ear or third eye. They don't do that. And some of them are very good, but people want to be heard, they want to be valued, they want to contribute. And if you ask the question, you seek to understand, they often have the solution. Sometimes it's something they haven't thought about. And so these are all tools and qualities that have been helpful to me. The honest, fair, respectful, and kind, those are virtues. Yeah. My mama raised me to be a good girl, be nice, kind, respectful. It doesn't hurt to be nice, baby. That's what my grandmother used to say. And so that's what we do. And it's natural. And one of my colleagues who retired, I don't know if you all know Cindy Town. I love Cindy, worked with Cindy for years. After 42 and a half years, she left. But she used to say a little sweet goes a long way. A little sweet goes a long way. And that's true. And then the shared governance, collective bargaining, I put it in qualities, but having that understanding is, and having those experiences, I think are valuable when you're working with faculty and administration. And I already talked about I've acquired a lot of institutional know-how and experiences throughout my journey. Okay. And so the provost says, so how will you guide them? Have these qualities, how are you going to guide the college with them? Okay. And so I think one of the most critical things is because you're dealing with people who have their own unique experiences, and you need to have good working relationships with them. We don't always agree on things, but we have to have space to communicate. Safe space, psychological safety, you all know the term, is very important. You have to trust that you can share things, and you have to trust that you're going to get a response that doesn't make you feel ashamed, doesn't make you feel guilty, or you're not going to be penalized or punished. And so fostering space is really important when you're working with people. And because whether it's the good, the bad, or the ugly, we need to know. We need to know so we can figure out what to do. building connections and strong teams. So this is what it looks like. This is what I'm talking about. Taking steps to connect with, getting to know, getting to know people so you know who's great on different teams or on different projects or different committees. It's not just the people I know. And no, it's the people who can offer value to that, the purpose or a charge for that work. Okay. Seeking input. I've talked about these. Active listening, making sure I understand what you said. You told me, I listened, but do I really understand? Making sure we understand so we can achieve great solutions. Collectively making decisions. The person in the leadership or the dean or the interim dean, I don't make unilateral decisions in my office when it impacts everybody. There's a level of engagement. People need to know, they need to understand. At the end of the day, the buck stops, but that doesn't mean that their decisions and inputs are taken into consideration. Doing the research. I am a researcher, but also I don't mind saying I do not know. So let's find out. I don't know, but somebody probably does know because everyone has something unique to contribute. And then keeping students and communities that we serve as a priority, because that's what we said we do. And then showing gratitude, thank you, in different ways. People have, and then you also say you have to know what people value. Not everybody likes the same gratitude shown. Not everybody likes the same rewards or thank yous. So you have to know. Some people, time is more important to me. Some people, flowers are more important to me. So you have to get to know people to understand how to show gratitude toward them. Some people say, I need a plaque. I've never been presented with an award. Oh, okay, so I don't want a certificate. I want something different. And then the next thing that I was asked to talk about is vision. Present a clear vision for the college, a one year clear vision for the college. And that's not a long time. It goes by really fast because we got to find the next dean to serve in this capacity. So therefore, we have to make some decisions about what we are going to do over the course of the year. And for me, business is first. Work hard, play hard. Okay, so we have to, in my vision, is a seamless transition for when the new dean comes. Some people say, I'm not dealing with that. Let the new dean deal with it. I've heard things like that. But no, so what business, what things need to be attended to? Obviously, the day-to-day business operations have to be part of the priority and the vision of the interim. Making sure things are running smoothly. You all, I don't know the answers, I don't know the detail, but the accreditation reviews that may be up and coming. There may be some reports that need to be submission. People have grants. What are the deadlines that you are responsible for? Our contractual obligations. We have to, our tenure promotion is really important to people, and we have contractual deadlines and guidelines. So those things we have to have a plan for that. I was like thinking, ooh, if I get this opportunity, we need a calendar because there's probably a lot that you have to make sure you don't overlook. We don't want any oversights when it comes to what really matters to people. And then there's always the issue around resources. You talk to people, resources, just the budget, the programming, the staffing, all those things. And then any unresolved or looming issues, what are they? I asked the question, well, what is going on? Are there some things that really need to be attended to, or the things that are a risk to the university because we just haven't taken the time to address them? And then I understand that there's a strategic plan that, you have one on the website, the 1620, and then I understand maybe that there's a process underway to develop a new one or revise and update the one that we have. That I think I see, completing some goals that you have, determined that are important, setting some new priorities, and determining how we're going to move forward on those. And then, provost, president, other people really like to talk about and think about innovation. So the innovations are what keep us relevant, what keeps us cutting edge, what gives us distinction as an institution. So what are those things that what is the thing or two, what have you been talking about? What do you really want to pursue? And I'll say more about innovation in a bit. And then any improvements to climate or, culture, some things that we can just really be honest about that are impacting the ability to work collaboratively and attain the mission of the college, okay? And so I put that at the bottom, the fostering the culture and climate of trust, support, safety, engagement, collaboration, and innovation for excellence and greatness. Excellence and greatness kind of the same. I like the word greatness, but a lot of people like excellence, and excellence is in your language, so I said I will say excellence, but I also like the word greatness. Okay, next. So what is your vision for the college? I'm not asking you to answer that, but I was wondering, I had to think about it myself, but you live here and work here. And so have you thought about what is the vision for the year? And what greater impact or value do you envision for the college this coming year? These are just things to, start thinking about, wondering about, because I will ask you, well, tell me, these are the things I think are important. I want to know what you think are important, or how are you going to align yourself to do some things over the course of the year. So mission aligned contribution. What will you make? Faculty, colleagues, staff. Yeah. And next is collaboration. The guidance was address my ability to foster collaborative relationships with faculty, staff, students, and community partners. And how will I promote a culture of collaboration and engagement within the college? Very important. We can't do anything if we don't collaborate. Well, we can, but we're just kind of trudging along. Okay, so working together is, it's kind of like a hallmark of any organization. Who are we engaging? Who are our partners? Who are we collaborating with within this college, across the departments? And so on this slide, some of my collaborations over the years. So, and then there's the question of why do we need to collaborate? All of these have a why. We did them because they are a why. Like the first one, the campus climate for diversity, equity, and inclusion. You all remember that? That was like between the years of 2010, 2015, when I first went over to institutional equity. My predecessor was like, okay, here, you're gonna do that. So we were developing the survey tool at that time. And so I filled my sleeves up, jumped in, we developed the tool, we engaged a consultant, we administered it, we got recommendations, we formed a tactical action community for strategic diversity leadership and for transformational change. That was sort of the mantra. That's what we decided we needed to do at this campus, because we had a DMAP, but now we needed to do some work. We want to implement. So there was a tactical action community and the project action teams. And so we did some wonderful work. I was on that steering committee. And so that involved, and the proud thing about that for Western, that group and engaged, and we did the outreach and the invitations, but people engaged because we want everybody's voice to be heard. And so we were purposeful and intentional about engaging all levels of the university. And it was from the cabinet, they were called senior leadership team at the time, from the cabinet all the way down, or if you want to just say engaged, because some people think about that's too hierarchical, but there were students, faculty, staff, administrators. We were all involved in this process. It was a long process, and we got some things out of it. For example, that anti-bullying policy, that grew out of one of the project action teams. It was one that I was on. And so there were administrators on that, and because there was issues about civility and harassment and bullying that wasn't protected class related, so institutional equity wasn't on first for responding, but we were consulting with look, this doesn't belong here, but we still need to deal with this as an issue. So HR was involved. So that was we had to partner with different people across the campus to implement this policy. And so now we have one. The Professional Development Institute, Building Cultural Competencies, that's one of my newest initiatives. I don't know if you all have heard about that one or have participated in that. That's a capacity building initiative to increase our ability to provide diversity, equity, and inclusion campus-wide. Because, and I'll tell you where it started. I was doing doing implicit bias training, pretty solo. I mean, it started out, Tammy Miller was helping, then I had Kyle Brinkles in the College of Business, again, different partners across campus. And I was like, I can't respond to the need. It was for search committees, but people wanted it for student ambassador leading, they wanted it for staff. I was like, okay, we got to figure this out. So I was like, what are we gonna do? So I'm engaged colleague and Dr. Mark Orby, and we decided I was like, I have a vision for this. Let's get together. So we started to co-create this PDI. So that is now we got people. We just finished our 4th cohort. So we have people now who have been provided with tools, a common understanding, know-how to help do this work campus-wide. So I'm really proud of that. We're trying to, our goal is to sustain it. It's a presidential initiative. Dr. Montgomery, thankfully, thank you, Dr. Montgomery, he supported the idea, he and Dr. McCorkle, and then we partnered with Academic Affairs. Academic Affairs were a part from the very beginning. And so they support the work. So, another engagement with involving, people have to contribute money, some people contribute time, and some people contribute talent. So we, and that's how engagement works. You find out who can contribute to implement this idea. And so I won't talk about the others, you can ask questions about them later, but the collaborators span, the different people that we've had to engage for collaboration, and that's what's necessary. Keep it moving. So promoting collaboration, that was the other part of, so how do we do that within the college? I thought about this collaboration in the college, collaboration in the community, and collaboration in the college and in the community. That was another part to that I wanted to address. So I will start, the university. There we go, the university. I just skipped over the university. So within the college, one of the things I thought about, and I saw this, some people are doing this, they're engaging students, because you all are developing professionals, students to go and work in the profession. So we're starting to engage students in projects. And I think that's really important, because then students develop the notion of collaboration themselves. And so that's one way, we can tie that to if there's a RFP, if there's an award we want to give, one of the criteria, or there's a proposal process you're seeking funding for, then you can say that it needs to be a collaborative effort. Within the college, it can be collaboration with colleagues in different departments. Okay, and on campus. So we have stakeholders in something that we might want to do. So we need to think about how do we collaborate across the different colleges. And we've had those, for example, the Transformation Initiative. You get points for collaboration. The more the single unit, they don't get as many points. They're not considered as favorably as those that involve collaboration. And so I think there are people who have different expertise. You might have the idea, you may have part of it, but you don't have the other part. So you may need a partner, or a researcher, or a colleague, or a faculty member in another college who can add value to that initiative to elevate it. And so that's why the university collaborations can be very important. So we have to start thinking about that. And in the community, it's the same thing. There may be a new model or new method that we want to implement, or we want to try something out, or we need it to provide a standard of excellence education for our students. So we have to think about what those partnerships look like. I know one of the things, because you all have there's a high demand for our students, but sometimes we are not able to, there are not enough supervisors to support them. And so, there may be some creative ideas on how to partner, how do we provide education and clinicals and experiential experiences for our students locally, globally? And we can talk more about that if you're interested. But these are some of the ideas that I was thinking about as I was getting ready for this talk. Let's see. let's go on to innovation. Because collaboration and innovation kind of go together in some ways. You have to collaborate to innovate, or you can innovate, you have to collaborate to implement. And so there's a relationship there. And so I was asked to address the importance of fostering innovation and include strategies. So, innovation, yeah, it keeps us relevant. It keeps us competitive. That's the value of it in the health sciences. It's constantly changing. It's a profession, it's a world that's changing rapidly. And so if we don't innovate by coming up with new ideas and working with others to stimulate other ideas, then we might find that we're not as attractive we may not be the college of choice for certain students, because over there, they have this new thing that's really gonna make that student more competitive in the marketplace. And so that's why the innovation is really important. And so creating space for that, be curious, ask questions, or space, staying open-minded to different ideas and possibilities. And so you can call it whatever you want, but innovator think tanks. What kinds of things do you all do in this college to innovate? Do you do it together? You do it alone? Where is the space for that type of conversation? And then you want people to share. You want to listen. We're exploring possibilities, and so I call it building a muscle for innovation. You know how they say I like to dance, and so they say you dance like nobody's watching, and so the more you do it, you get better at it, and then you don't care who's watching. So it's like the innovators will say, we're gonna innovate like nobody's watching. We're gonna talk about our ideas like nobody's listening, and just think when you share one, another person shares one. You share one, another one shares one, and so that's how it can just continue to be a part of the culture. We are innovators in CHHS. And so when leaders demonstrate a willingness to entertain alternative points of view, employees offer new ideas. That's a quote. I said, this is a really good quote. I like it. And so I'm like, I'll go first. I have an idea. I'll share it. Now, what is your idea? I want you to share your idea too. So the next is last on the list, but it's definitely not the least. Our student-centered focus here. That's why we're here. The mission, we're here for our students. And so it's really, your mission is really exciting in that regard. Because I'm like, we're preparing professionals to go serve the community. And I'm like, okay, yeah, and I've done a lot of that. And I've done a lot of it here on campus. And so these are some of the kinds of work that I have been involved in to support student development, student growth, student academic achievement, and progression to degree completion. And so the counseling center work, the work that we do in terms of creating safe environments for students through institutional equity now. But yes, so these are the kinds of experiences that I've had. Like the counseling, mental health counseling and career exploration and development, clinical supervision. I provided supervision for students, practicum and interns. We had an APA accredited internship program here at one time. I've served on several thesis and dissertation committees, capstone projects. Mentoring and coaching is, what we do. We have students I have students that I have relationships with beyond graduation that we stay in touch with, who've gone on to do wonderful things. And sometimes it's just a conversation that supports them. So we think about our student holistically. They have different needs at different times, and sometimes have multiple needs at the same time. But we have, through my time here and my continued work here, I like to make sure students know the resources, and so you can make appropriate referrals to help address those holistic areas of challenge impacting their lives. Outreach and recruitment for enrollment. I've helped admissions call students, like these students are undecided. Will you call them and see if they have any questions? So we get on the phone and we call and talk to students. And then emergency employment, help get students jobs who need employment, they need work. Emergency assistance because they're struggling, something happened, a crisis. And including them, like I said, in different kinds of work that we've had, projects and programs. And all those initiatives that I presented earlier, we've had students involved in them. Okay, And then the prioritization, how will I do that? The success and wellness and inclusivity. Yeah, this is a good one. My notes here. So as I touched on, being responsive to the holistic needs of student for success and being responsive in a timely manner, because retention of students is really important. Sometimes students stop out, drop out. I think about when I stopped out. If someone had just said, "What's going on? I just want to talk to you," as opposed to looking at me as for a single purpose. Well, there's more to me than this purpose. I have many facets to me. I may have sustained. Maybe I needed career guidance. I needed to take the CGI, but I didn't know that it was even available. And so, making sure the students know the resources. And then academic programming is really critical here, what you all do with instruction in the classrooms. And then there's the support services for the students as well. And so we have to make sure that we attend to those, whatever faculty need to support, or what are the challenges, how come the students are not staying, or what's going on with our students. And then partnering with our campus resources to support students. Academic affairs and student affairs are critical partners in supporting the well-being and success of our students. And then creating diverse learning environments, and also making sure that there's access to opportunities, equitable access to opportunities. And then I was curious about, what does the data say? What does the data say about the student experiences? Because they will share and inform maybe some things that we don't know about, some things we may want to do different. And so those are all things that are really important. So I want to end with this. I want to thank you for your listening ears, preparing students for careers. I have to stand here in high demand and high in purpose, high in satisfaction, and unsurpassed in impact. I think that this role is a very exciting opportunity for the college. It's an exciting opportunity for me. And given my collective background, skill set, the work that I've done, the people I've served, what I continue to do, my connection to the community, the work I've done in the community, I think are position me for candidacy for this position. And yeah, I want to open it up for questions so that you can ask some things that you may want to know about, how I might serve in this role effectively in support of you and your work in the mission of the college. So thank you. Any questions? Yes.
I have a logistic question.
Yes, ma'am.
You are the executive director of a very important office within the university. What's going to happen during this year with your position? Assuming that you may be.
Right. So someone would say that's beyond my pay grade because I report to the president. I wouldn't. That's a decision that we would have to make as an institution if I became the chosen candidate for this role, or chosen individual for this role. And it's an important question, but we have to think about that in the context of all the other transitions that happen. So transitions happen all the time, and employers, organizations, universities, we figure it out. So I don't know, but I think it's a good one. I have, my own, I would have my own thoughts about if I were asked, but I also would probably also, in an unsolicited way, share them. I know I will, because I have my own thoughts about that, of course, because I know. But succession planning is really important at the institution. And so I've talked to the leaders about that. I talk to them about it all the time. We have to plan for succession. We have to think about it. It has to become a part of the culture, because people want to do other things. And because you're really good at something, or we don't have anybody else, or at least we don't think we have anybody else, doesn't mean that people have to stay in their current roles or can't explore other possibilities. So thank you for that question. Anybody else? Dr. Simpson, hi.
Take the lady.
Oh, yeah.
I just had a question on what strategies would you utilize from transitioning to a non-academic unit to an entire college? Even as far as promotion and tenure, all of the reporting that goes to the provost through the business manager's office, searches, just so many things that are different when we're talking about the whole college versus being on, I don't know, do you see where I'm at?
Absolutely,
Okay,
I do
there-
see, I do see,
Okay.
and it's a good question, you know, how does someone transition? So that's the question, how does one transition to something they've never done before,
Right.
okay?
And then in
And-
an area that may have different challenges than you have encountered previously.
Oh, so I have some transferable skills, having been a department chair, so there's scale. So being a department head in a bargaining unit, serving faculty, staff, and students. The office I worked in prior to this one was a combination of, we had faculty, we had administrators. When I was the head, we had student employees, staff employees. It was a larger staff. I've always been in an office where we've had to work across divisions and work, you know, we serve students in the counseling center, so we had to work with all these other departments. Okay, in institutional equity, while I have a small staff, we serve the entire institution. So what I do bring is institutional understanding and know-how. And when I talked about collaboration earlier, so no one knows everything, but I bring things that someone doesn't know, and then other people, and then we'll ask questions, and you transition and you take your steps and you figure out how to get things done. So I'm not intimidated by the size. I think you have a model of how to work, and then you apply that at different scales. And then you know what I have? And I don't know if you thought about it, I have you all. And you know this college. And so I always tell people when they take on new responsibilities, you have to get to know the people, the policy procedures, the politics, the personalities, and so you get to know and then there are people who, yeah, they know this place well. And when you say yes to an opportunity, people, they support you. And when you're humble, when you have humility and you're open, it comes. So that's a great question, because I would be probably concerned too. It's like, she don't know nothing about this college. Well, I told the provost, I said, I'm an insider, outsider. So I do know some things. These colleagues evaluated my promotion. So they know, you know, I had to go through their process. So I do know some things, and I've worked with you all through my office. So yeah. You're welcome. Yes, Dr.
Dr. Whitfield Thomas, I'm gonna sound like a broken record,
Yes, sir.
but I will say you sat on the right of me when the provost had his town hall or our meeting with us.
Mhm.
And he asked us for strengths and weaknesses, and there were 12 comments, all weaknesses. And then there was talks about siloing more in this college, which is all indicative of a decreasing morale. Could you articulate to some degree how you would address and turn around, not that we're at the bottom by any means, we're very dynamic people, but how you turn the curve around
So
in their position?
absolutely. So morale issues and challenges and climate are not unknown or unheard of in organizations. And I don't know if this is the first time the college has had that kind of experience, but there's probably some institutional memory, know-how on what it was and what we did to move things along. So because as a psychologist, my first strategy is seek to understand, ask questions, try to understand where it's coming from, what's causing the morale issue, and what are your thoughts on everyone here? Because I could come in and say, well, you need to do this, and that's like miss the mark totally. Okay, so there's a collective experience here, and you all, if you identify with them or are impacted by morale issues, then you have some thoughts about, you know, how we got there, and then what you would like to see different so we can move beyond that. So this is a collective, one step at a time kind of, and a very important one, but how we do it. And then there's some wisdom in this space, in this place, I'm sure that, that we can tap to help us move that along. I hope I addressed your question.
You did.
Okay. Yes. Hi, Dr. Reeser.
Thomas, I was just wondering, you spoke a lot about about students, giving them support and retaining them and all of that. And along with what Dr. Simpson said, I know one of the issues is faculty feeling very overworked because we lost a ton of support staffing. So many positions were cut and there are very few left. So faculty then had to take on an inordinate amount of work and do the work of the people who left on top of their regular jobs. So do you see yourself in the role of just maintaining, or would you see something else maybe to do in the interim before someone else comes along to see what could be done about that?
And that's a very important priority for faculty, so we have to, faculty, yes, we have to figure that out, okay? So one of the things I did say when I was talking about the one-year vision, there was like addressing the looming, the unresolved, or the things that are impacting performance or morale, or the experiences. And so the experiences of faculty are definitely important because the students need the faculty to, be excited about coming here every day. Willingness to work together, providing quality education for students and working together, supporting staff supporting them. And so those are, I don't have the specific answers, but I know that is a specific concern. I heard that in the town hall. I'm hearing you say it here today. And so I know that you have some thoughts about that, but I will talk about it in general in terms of when there's staffing issues. Sometimes we have to think about what are the priorities over the next year. What do we have to do? What do we want to do? And where do we land with all of that? So looking at the resource, this is a resource issue that you're talking about. And so the resource is an ongoing concern for a head of any organization. It's a resource, it's an issue for me in a small department with a handful of people serving the entire university. That's a resource concern issue ongoing when my responsibility is staffing. And so we have, on a small scale, I'm just talking about my department right now, is that we've had to contend with that. Some of it we've had to take on extra work because we didn't have the staff. We also had to keep thinking about how do we expand our capacity in different ways. What work do we prioritize over other work? You know, some things we may not be able to do well. Trying to do all things well doesn't necessarily work if it's a resource issue. But that's a conversation that needs to, I'm hearing people want to have it. They want to figure it out together. I'm sure that the administration may have some thoughts about that as well, because I know that probably across campus there's some other concerns. You know, people and that is so it's important here to think about. Okay, what do we need to? How do we need to start thinking about what we want to do as a college, so we don't feel that pressure of being overwhelmed, overworked, and not able to meet the needs of our students and take care of ourselves. Because if you're not well, they always say, put your own oxygen mask on first and then help your baby or your children. And so faculty needs and capacity is important. So I'm hearing it's like that's gonna have to be one of the priorities to address. Any others? Yes.
Wanted to ask you, why do you want this position and why now? You've been in a lot of different roles at the university, and why do you want this position and why do you want it now?
So actually, I haven't been in a lot of roles. I've had a lot of experience in roles outside. When I came to Western, I've been in 2 departments.
Okay.
So I have my career can be categorized as commitment and longevity. So I spent 11 years in institutional equity. I spent 13 years 11 years in University Counseling Testing Center, and 13 years in institutional equity. And so this opportunity was a very unexpected opportunity. And when it emerged, I thought, because I talked to my team about, at some point I may want to start exploring other possibilities. I have other aspirations and goals for myself. And so I have, this position is in a college that has work that aligns well with my professional background, and my professional experiences. I'm in a community that I love and that I could serve, because there's a lot of engagement that's needed in this role. And so the possibilities of working with people to support the college and the community is really exciting to me. There's other experiences that I have not had, that anytime you say yes to it, then you get the opportunity. I get an opportunity to expand beyond the people I work with through institutional equity to working with, back in an academic setting. And so that's exciting because that's new. But again, I have the transferable skills for that. So it really is bringing all of what we do. This is kind of, I'm gonna say this. I would like to think, given the role I play in institutional equity, if I came here, because our goal is to solve things at the lowest level possible, that if we have the space to address things, if it's not, we may not have any, that could be a goal. We're not gonna have any real complaints. We're not overlooking anything. We're not putting things under the rug, but just think about how this college could, we could be have a goal of not having any equity compliance issues. Okay, so it's like about taking my skills and using them in a different way to support the institution. And I love how my heart is in equity and access. And so creating an environment where all may learn. Dr. Montgomery said that first, not everything that everyone says resonates with you, but that particularly resonated with me. And so how can I take what I have acquired and all my skills and abilities and leverage them in a new role, in a new opportunity to help elevate what you all do here, elevate myself in the process in terms of the new learning and the knowledge. And yeah, it's just, I told you I was forward thinking. So I may stay in places, but I also think about what might happen? What about this? Can we, so it's exciting. New is exciting. Yeah, my husband, I'm like, let's go do this, let's go do that. And so I drive the let's go do. Because that's exciting to me. And then all the new people I get to work with. So yeah, yes. Anything else from anybody? I didn't look at the timer. I have no idea where we are. It's 4:32, is it? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh,
So I think we made it. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank you all for coming on a Friday. We should all be up north right now already, right? So thank you so much for being here. Again, the opportunity to provide feedback. There's the QR codes. We'll also send an email probably first of the week with the links to the YouTube, so in case there were faculty that couldn't make it, so they can watch the YouTubes and do the feedback. Hopefully, we'll probably set a deadline for the feedback for probably the end of next week, and then I'll probably meet with the president after that. So we're looking at a couple weeks before there's a recommendation and an announcement. Any other final questions before we head out?
Thank you again for being here, and thank you for the opportunity.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Oh, and I want to thank the staff too.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
staff, for being here.
Absolutely.